Now, since this is the 5th video I'm doing covering the 1974 super outbreak, for this one I'm just going to be focusing on the tornado event itself rather than the backstory of the whole storm, just to avoid these videos on this topic beginning to sound repetitive by saying the exact same backstory with each video I do on this topic. Now, if you have been around for these since the beginning, you've heard the backstory more than once now, and like I said, I don't want these to start getting really repetitive sounding since I have now done multiple of this outbreak. So if you are new, or just want to hear the background of the outbreak for context, check out any of the other videos I've done covering the 1974 super outbreak. I'll even put the Xenia video in a card on screen now, and you can go right to it. That was the first one I did on this outbreak, and it has a detailed description of the build-up to it. Also, fun fact, this is the 100th documentary on my channel, so cool. Now then, with that covered, let's talk about the 1974 Cincinnati tornado. It'll be a shorter video since I'm omitting the backstory section, but I think it'll be a better video for it, and we can get right to the main event. Now, as far as F5s go, the Cincinnati tornado is kind of a curious case. It's a rare case of an F5 not being the big, almost cliche, shrouded in darkness wedge that you may imagine when you picture an F5, but rather, it is a small, narrow funnel with a short-lived life and is rather well illuminated for almost all of the footage or pictures of it that exist. It's actually very eerie looking in pictures and video of it. Again, it's not what you might typically think of when you imagine a strong tornado in your mind. Those are usually like a big rain-wrapped wedge, but this is just a clearly visible and narrow funnel pinpointing where it is bringing its destruction down upon. This was not a long-track beast like the Ewan tornado was either, but rather this is a tornado that dropped, made its mark in a gash across Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio in a matter of minutes, then lifted again. For how short its life was, it is noteworthy that it affected 3 states, and more so for just how destructive it was. So, starting at the beginning, again see the other videos for the background on the storm that spawned all these tornadoes. This tornado touched down around 4:30 p.m. CDT, 5:30 p.m. EDT, near Rising Sun, Indiana, which is along the Ohio River. I actually plan to have a chapter in the sequel of the Spinosaurus, my original post-apocalyptic novel set there. I've been once, and had no idea at the time that a rather infamous F5 had first touched down nearby. After touching down, the tornado first moved into Kentucky from Rising Sun, heading north-northeast-ish and striking Boone County, leaving behind damage that was rated as F4 intensity in the Taylorsport area. Taylorsport is an unincorporated community founded way back in 1827. In this area, the tornado destroyed approximately 50 homes, 20 barns, 186 boats, killed 50 dairy cows, and destroyed the Moorhead Marine Service. And just across the river from here is Salyer Park, a neighborhood of Cincinnati on the west side of the city. And the tornado then crossed the river and slammed into Salyer Park at F5 intensity, which is where the Moorhead Marina was located. Also destroyed around here was a large floating restaurant that was lifted, ripped free of its moorings, and capsized by the tornado. It floated miles downstream before being recovered. A house was also thrown from its foundation into the river in this area. I don't know what it is about powerful tornadoes striking river towns or river communities or stuff like that. It's particularly eerie to me, maybe because Natchez first comes to mind, the 1840 Natchez tornado, which sunk hundreds of boats and was the second deadliest in U.S. history. Now, around this time, as the Cincinnati Salyer Park tornado was crossing the river, an individual named Bill Dirksing actually filmed the tornado as it crossed the Ohio River. He got the moment that it crossed the river and entered the Cincinnati neighborhood on camera. Now, as the tornado entered Ohio and Salyer Park, at its most intense strength that it would be during its life, many found themselves in the path with little or no idea what was coming. Sharon Becker, who told her story at a memorial event 50 years later, which was then reported and written in an article in the Cincinnati Enquirer, said that when the tornado came that day, she rushed into her home's basement with her husband and kids, and that she just prayed. Janet Coach, who also told her story at the same memorial event, recalled on that day, then 50 years ago, that when the tornado hit Salyer Park, where she still lives, that she, then a young nurse, was moved to the emergency room to treat survivors, collecting names and addresses from the wounded. One told her, "I don't have an address, Janet. My house is gone." I couldn't fathom what that meant, Coach said she thought at the time. More stories from survivors were told in the same article. One is that of Jackie Lynchfield. She was a teenager when the tornado struck and was initially not too bothered by the weather at first. She said that she and other kids went out and collected the softball-sized hail to put in their freezers as souvenirs. However, when her mother called her home and ushered the family into the basement, she realized how serious it was. "I saw the fear in my mother's eyes," she said. "It was just like the zombies. We wandered around and looked. We'd never. It was awful. It was awful," she also said, describing the aftermath of the scene. Another resident, Bev Eating, said the tornado and aftermath was literally like a nightmare. You were in a nightmare that you couldn't get out of. She also told what she saw. The tornado was on top of the Kentucky hills, on its way down the hill, across the river, and into Salyer Park. She said that then her husband came running in. "Get to the basement," he said. Glenn Becker lived down the street, and he saw it too. "I seen the black funnel cloud through all the branches, coming," he said. He had never seen a tornado before then, but he knew what it was. His boys went from asking their mom what a tornado would be like, "The Wizard of Oz," she said to them, and being excited, to Glenn rushing in and screaming for them to get to the basement, and then thinking that they were going to die. Glenn and Sharon Becker's kids were 5 and 7 at the time. Sharon said that she told the boys, no, when they asked if the family was going to die, but we're going to say a prayer. As the tornado moved away from the river and further into Ohio, with winds possibly reaching 300 miles per hour, it maintained its intense F5 strength as it tore through Salyer Park. Homes on a hillside near a lake were swept away so utterly that only the bare foundation slabs remained. Also around here, a pickup truck was lifted and carried half a block over the roofs of 5 houses before the tornado dropped it, smashing it on the ground. As the tornado continued to move northeastward, multiple Cincinnati neighborhoods were struck and destroyed. Bridgetown, Mack, Dent, and Delhi were all devastated, receiving high F4 damage in certain areas. Trees were toppled, and cars were flipped, and dozens upon dozens of homes were completely destroyed. 210 people were injured, and 6 people died in this area. The tornado finally lifted west of White Oak. By the time it had, a large section of southern Cincinnati, especially around Salyer Park and Westside, was devastated. Westside was so bad that it was declared a disaster area. The tornado killed 1 person in Salyer Park. The death that occurred in this area was perhaps not from the tornado itself, but rather its effects on the environment. The death occurred when an individual was killed near Cincinnati from a downburst as the F5 Salyer Park tornado moved nearby. But by the time it was done, 6 deaths would be counted as being directly caused or indirectly caused by the tornado. Those killed by the tornado, directly or indirectly, are on screen now. Take a moment to read their names. The aftermath of this storm was described as, "Everyone went out to help." Louis Martini, who was a firefighter at the time of the tornado, said that, "I think it helped bring Salyer Park together." This tornado is noteworthy for not just how strong it was, but also for perhaps being the most photographed tornado of the outbreak. And it is noteworthy for being witnessed live on TV by thousands of people as WCPO aired it as it was happening. I went hunting for some of the footage while reading the script, and I shared some at the very beginning, but I also found a good video compiling some of it on the Smithsonian YouTube channel, and I'm going to link that one below if you want to give it a watch. But it showed multiple different clips of the tornado, a graphic with its path, footage of the aftermath, and frightened voices reporting what they were seeing. It's some haunting stuff. On screen throughout this video have been some stills of the tornado from various footage or photographs, but some of the recorded quotes from the Smithsonian YouTube channel include, "Be advised, it's just past LJ Willfleet, headed northeast towards 275. And, "This whole neighborhood, Hutchinson Road, has been wiped out. Houses leveled, wires, poles, and power lines. You better send everybody you can get over here." And another which ended with the haunting statement, "We have a touchdown 5800 West Fork with extensive damage with people screaming for help." And some of the clips featured also show the writhing form of the tornado as it looms over a heavily populated region of Cincinnati. The funnel looms in the distance, almost seeming to stare the city down. It's a seriously haunting shot. I showed it earlier in the video, showing a large number of cars parked in front of it or passing by in the foreground, and the fact that you know the tornado's coming is just... it's a haunting shot. And on screen now is a still of that exact scene. Another shot from it which stood out to me shows the tornado in a similar state to the famous photo of it, a long funnel with the bottom trailing behind the clouds it spawned from. Various photos show the long, narrow, and clearly visible funnel taking all manner of unsettling shapes as it snaked back up into the sky. Again, it's not what you think about typically when you imagine a powerful F5 strength tornado. It's almost deceptive. Also, an extra haunting fact about this tornado, according to the video, was that at the time it struck, many meteorologists apparently still believed tornadoes would dissipate in urban areas. This one, and many others of the outbreak from Xenia to Guen, proved them wrong in the most horrifying way possible. This is a topic I'm going to be touching on again in the final 1974 Super Outbreak F5 video in just a few days, so stay tuned for that, because there actually was some advancements made in warning systems after this outbreak occurred, and we'll be covering the upside, I guess, to all of this carnage, is that it paved the way for what we have today, and I'll explain a little bit more in detail in that next video. So now, the tornado part of this video is done, and the rest of this is just going to be a sort of scripted, sort of not scripted rant about what I want to do next year and other videos I want to make and that kind of stuff. So if you're not interested in listening to that, thank you for watching. If you are, stick around for like the next 2 minutes to hear what is going to be coming for videos next year. So thank you for watching. Alright, so for some closing comments about videos for the rest of the year and going into next year. One, I am going to finish the 1974 Outbreak F5s this year. The last one is going to be out, ideally, in just a couple of days. I'm also thinking about for next year. One thing I do want to do next year, more so than I did this year, is keep sharing stuff about my book. My novel is over 400 pages, and not counting the spin-off material and that at all. And what I have shared is just a little glimpse into that world, and I also want to narrate other stories I write, but I've also been lending my voice to stuff narrating things for people I care about, like my friends. So I do want to keep making those projects for others, and all of that might slow down videos like this, but I still want them to be generally frequent, 2 or 3 times a month at the minimum. Also, this year, my main focus for videos like this, the educational ones, was pretty much just on tornadoes. So between that, and again, the national forest I work on getting hit by a tornado in March, here's a picture of me standing in the tornado path, I think I'm about tornadoed out right now. So as much as I do find them interesting and really enjoy doing videos like this, I want to focus on some more topics again next year, like shipwrecks. I may do something in April for the Titanic. But there's others I've wanted to talk about for a while, like the sinking of the William Brown in 1841. And that one's going to be a priority for me after I finish the 1974 Outbreak F5s. And there's just other things I like talking about, like unsolved mysteries or just random things I think are interesting and worth chatting about. At the end of the day, I want to talk about what's just really speaking to me at that moment, be it an obscure mystery, a shipwreck, or a tornado. So I'm going to try and broaden the horizon again going into next year. And I think I was just so focused on tornadoes this year because Tri-State had its 100th anniversary, and it was just like, seared into my mind. I wanted to do a lot of tornado videos, and I'm satisfied with the ones I've done, and yeah, I hope you have enjoyed them as well. So yeah, TLDR, I am going to finish the 1974 Outbreak videos this year, and then I'm going to be talking about other topics again starting next year. There will still be tornado videos mixed in, but I do want to get back to covering other topics I find interesting and want to talk about, be it a tornado, shipwreck, or something else. I also want to write and narrate my own original stories more too, outside of my novel. So that is my pre-New Year's resolution for videos next year and the content I'm going to try to make. And I hope you all understand. And again, I just don't want to hyper-focus on one specific thing for a whole year again. I think having a good balance of everything is the way to do it. So With that said, thank you for listening to my little rant, and thank you for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed because it does help me grow. And I'll see you very soon for the last 1974 Super Outbreak F5, the Brandenburg Tornado. Until then, have a good one, everyone, and thank you one more time for watching.